Hey, hey, hey. Time for the Out of This World story from rSpace. Today on rSpace, OP thought the worst thing that could happen at a nice restaurant was paying too much for food he couldn't have made better at home. He was wrong. So wrong. Waiter at a restaurant clued me in on my wife's affair. I interrupted her romantic dinner with her affair partner to humiliate them. I, 34 male, recently went to a restaurant with my wife, Katie, 33 female, and something very strange happened. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I need someone to talk it over with. I hope that all of you won't mind talking this over with me. It's not like there's much for me to misread in this situation, but I still think that I need to talk about it before I do anything rash. I recently went to a restaurant with her. It's been around for a year or two, but when it first opened, we talked about wanting to go there. That plan sort of got pushed onto the back burner. So it was only recently that I proposed that we make it the destination for one of our date nights. She didn't seem too enthusiastic about it, so we pushed it back about 2 times. Each of those times, she'd say that she was in the mood for something simpler, like KFC or Burger King. I try to please her as much as I can when it is within my ability. So those times, I just rolled over and let her have her way. I still wanted to go to the restaurant though, and since I was afraid she was just going to push it back yet again, I basically had to surprise her with it. I told her to get dressed because I wanted to treat her, and she did that happily. I think halfway through the journey, she realized where we were going, and when she asked, I confirmed that she was right. She didn't seem as excited as I hoped, but I won't say that it seemed like she didn't want to go. She claimed once again that she wasn't in the mood for it. She tried to get us to go somewhere else, but I said that we needed to at least give it a try. If we didn't like it, we would never have to go back. She agreed when I said that. When we got there, the place was super nice. For me, at least, it was everything that I had hoped it would be. The food was fantastic. It really did live up to the hype. Though I don't think that I have the most elite palate in the world. It was good food regardless. I thought that Katie thought the same based on how she was eating this food. She finished all of her food, so I knew that she didn't have strong complaints about it. The real problem was that when she went to the bathroom to go and pee, our waiter came to me and asked me how the meal was. I told him it was good. I thought he was trying to make conversation when he asked me if I was on a first date. When I said no, that she was my wife, I noticed his face change, like he was disappointed. My first assumption was that he wanted a wingman and bring a dessert on the house or something, but that wasn't it. He said he wanted to tell me something, but he didn't know if it was his place. He said it had to do with Katie. I told him I wanted to know because if a stranger tells you he knows something about your wife, I don't think you're going to decline to hear whatever he has to say. He kept looking towards the bathroom, so he had obviously waited for her to leave before he said anything. He told me that she had come to that restaurant a few times before, but with another man. It was always the same guy, and she had been there at least 3 times in the past. He said they always looked romantic, but when he saw us, we had a better energy with one another. He hoped that I was going to say that we were just dating, and then he wouldn't have said anything. He asked me how long we had been married, and when he realized it was in years, he shook his head in disappointment. He said she was always nice, but he didn't really tolerate that kind of behavior. He apologized because he knew that ultimately it wasn't his business. He was a younger guy though, and I assume he's part of a new generation that refuses to treat women as precious jewels. He took my side as a man, and I'm glad that he did. I saw his face change when Katie came out of the bathroom, and before she was within earshot, he told me that I should say I ordered dessert. When she got there, he nodded at her and left. I don't know if I was imagining it, but she looked a bit concerned that he had been there. I did my best to act unfazed, like nothing was wrong. She asked me what he had wanted, and I took my time to answer, because I wanted to know how badly she wanted the answer to that question. She prompted me again, and I told her they had come to ask how the meal was, and that I had ordered dessert for us. I don't know if she believed me because she seemed uneasy, but when the dessert actually came, I think she settled down a little. We enjoyed that, and then she seemed to be in a rush to leave, so I obliged her and left a big tip for the waiter. She didn't like the size of the tip, but I told her that he had been really nice, so he deserved it. She didn't say much on the ride back home, but eventually she told me that she didn't like the place that much. I didn't object to that despite the fact that she had eaten everything, which didn't align with her words. I just told her that it was fine, though I made it clear that I thought the place was cool. I was doing a lot to act like I hadn't heard potentially life-changing information. Here's the thing. I've been trying to think of whether there might be a motive for that waiter to lie to me. I don't want to take a random person's word to accuse my wife of cheating on me. That's wrong. I'm going to have to verify what he said somehow. I'm definitely not going to confront her until I know more, but her behavior is aligning with what he had told me. She kept canceling our dates to go there. When she realized I was surprising her with the place, she didn't want to go, and now she's found a reason for us to never go again. She was also super concerned with what the waiter told me, probably because he had served her before. He just might be telling the truth, but I want to make sure that I'm not crazy first, which is why I'm writing this. I'm also open to any suggestions any of you might have as to how I can really find out what's going on. If there's a way I can set a trap and get her to admit it by herself, that'd be best. But yeah, I just want to figure out the truth right now. Edit. I've been reading all the comments and I'm going to take the advice of hiring a PI. The only problem with that is that I can't just get the PI to follow her around non-stop. That's going to be too expensive to make sense. I need to know when she might be going to meet the guy and then get him to trail her. I think I'll look for weekends when she claims she wants to hang with the girls, or workdays when she claims she'll be out late. I'll have to target those and basically have a PI ready to move at a moment's notice. That's my best shot. Update 1. Sequel to my last post about my wife potentially cheating on me. I was able to get some actual information about the situation. It required me to hire a PI, which ended up being more expensive than I wanted it to be. But to be honest, it really was worth it. When I hear stories of men trying to figure out if their wives are cheating, too few of them involve PIs, and I think that's a big mistake. They're the best way to get proper evidence. It paid off for me. I found a local PI and went to his office to talk to him. I explained the situation because I thought it was unique. I had to have her trailed at a moment's notice, but I wasn't going to be able to pay a proper retainer to have her trailed the entire day. I only needed her tailed on those specific days when I knew something was going to happen, and they'd either have hours of notice or potentially just a few minutes. The shocking thing is that it didn't seem to be a crazy request to the PI. He just said okay and explained how much he would charge for that. It was a lot, but it wasn't an insane amount. It was something I could pay, so I closed my eyes and went ahead to do it. The first day that she told me she was going to be working late, I texted him immediately, and he parked in a workplace parking lot. I had given him the details of her car, but he said she had already left. The next time that it happened, I did the same, and that time he was able to catch her before she left. He followed her, and this time around, she went to an apartment building. He took pictures of her going into the building. She was buzzed in, and then she disappeared for 2 hours. She came back down with a man. He was dressed in a t-shirt and shorts, and she was in what she wore to work. It was clearly a home visit. He walked her to her car, and they held each other and kissed before she got into her car and drove off. He even followed her back to our house and took pictures of her at the front door. Everything was time-stamped, so there was no way out of it. He asked me if I wanted more, but I let him know that one time was enough. I would have liked to have another instance, but to be honest, I didn't want to spend more than I needed to. I had enough to confront her with. Here's where things get fun. I wanted to know more about the guy himself. Since I had confirmed that she truly was cheating on me, I felt no guilt when I went through her phone. I had to figure out what the guy's name was, and I did. His first name is Tom. I tried to get his last name by checking if she was following him on Facebook, but I didn't see any Toms who looked the same. I stopped caring about his last name when I saw a message that has the two of them planning a dinner at the same place that she had said she doesn't want to go anymore. I guess she only cares about the waiter seeing her with her husband, but she's fine going there with her affair partner, as if it is their special place or something. It probably is, because their messages read like they're truly in love with each other. They use pet names, they talk about their days and thoughts, and they only spend a fraction of the time flirting and talking dirty. Somehow that hurts more than if I could tell that it was just physical. I don't want to talk too much about my emotions because this isn't a therapy session, but it hurts. It hurts very badly to be in this position. I wonder if she would have eventually left me for the guy. I'm glad I don't get to find out. It's nice to have the upper hand with this kind of thing. I'm going to humiliate the two of them. Everything that I'm feeling will be channeled into that, and I'm glad I'm in a place where no one will tell me that I'm doing too much. When I do that, I'll be back with another update, but for now, I'll focus on getting set. I need to make sure that I'm legally ready, so that means getting a divorce lawyer. That shouldn't be too hard because I have plenty of friends who have contacts who are lawyers. Hopefully, one of them will have a solid family law attorney to send my way. She didn't look confused. She looked offended. She looked caught. People who are innocent don't suddenly develop a deep philosophical opposition to a restaurant they just cleared at the plate at. That's not, I didn't like it. That's, please never bring me back to the scene of my crimes. Update 2. I've never been a vindictive person, but I will say without shame that I enjoyed being a bad person for once in my life. I knew the date that Katie was meant to meet her affair partner, Tom, for their date night. The moment she told me that she was going to be late, and knew that they were still on for their date. So I dressed up and headed for the restaurant. I made sure her car was in the parking lot, which it was, so I knew that it was go time. I was very nervous, I won't lie. I'm not a messy person, so it was tough for me to get past that mental barrier. But I pushed myself to, since I knew if I didn't confront her there, she was never going to feel the kind of hurt that I felt was befitting of her cheating on me. When I walked in, the hostess tried to seat me, but I just looked past her, trying to find Katie. I knew that she wasn't going to be wearing the same thing as she had worn to work, since it was a relatively nice restaurant and she would have wanted to look nice for her affair partner. But I knew the back of her head when I saw her. I brought out my phone and started recording. The guy apparently didn't know me, because he looked up at me as I approached, but he didn't seem to register my face. He only noticed something was off because I kept looking at him and I had my phone pointed towards him. I stood beside the table and he looked confused. Katie had been using her phone, but she looked up after a few seconds and she let out a little scream when she saw me. She immediately covered her mouth and then covered her face. I didn't have a script, but I think my anger took hold of the rest. "This is why you didn't want to come here, huh? This is the whole reason you kept making excuses not to come? Because you're cheating on me, your husband, with this guy." I was furious. I was actually ready to smash his face in. She didn't say anything. She just tried to hide her face from the camera. She reached out a hand and tried to block my camera, but I swiped her hand away. The affair partner tried to act like a hero. He said, "Hey man," in a cautious tone, as if he was trying to warn me from swiping away my own wife's hand. I dared him to test me. I told him to sit down and stop trying to play the hero because he was just a side piece. I was getting loud, and by that point the restaurant staff were trying to break things up. I spotted the waiter from the other day. He wasn't getting too involved in trying to break us up, but he was close by. I wanted Tom to try and hit me so that I could F him up, but there were too many people between us at that point. I knew other people were recording, so as the staff was trying to escort me out, I narrated the story. I told them that she was my wife, and for the longest time she refused to come to this restaurant because she had secretly turned it into a special place for her and her affair partner. By the time they had essentially pushed me to the door, I made sure to apologize for interrupting everyone's meals. I headed back home, and I patiently waited for Katie to come back home. I had a feeling that she wasn't going to, because she'd be walking into the worst situation ever. Shockingly, she did show up, but at like 1 a.m. She tried to sneak in, probably hoping that I'd be asleep. Of course I wasn't. I was too angry to sleep. She froze when she saw me. I think she might have been contemplating whether to turn and run. She decided against it, though choosing to go for the coward's option. She started pleading with me right away. "Babe, I know I effed up. I really effed up. I'm so sorry." She walked closer, but she was probably 10 feet away from me. She even got on her knees to beg. She started self-deprecating. She said she was stupid. She was selfish. She was a horrible wife. She hadn't respected everything I had done for her and all my love. She claimed it didn't mean anything, and she had only done it because she wanted some excitement, but she knew I was enough excitement for her. I knew she didn't believe everything she was saying. She just thought it was the best angle for her to take, like it was going to have the highest chances of success. It was amusing to me. When she was done, I told her to grab the things she would need for the rest of the week and leave. She could go to Tom's house. She started pleading even more, but I didn't say a word. I just let her know that she'd hate what I'd turn into if she was in the house in a few hours. She stood there looking at me, as if trying to gauge how serious I was, but in the end, she took me at my word. She packed her things, and she left. The next day, she sent me a message asking if we could talk, but I ignored it, and the answer was having her served with the divorce papers at work the next day. She decided to come to the house to talk it over, but I didn't answer the door, because what's the point? There's nothing she can say that will change my mind. Right now, I'm just focused on ending the marriage. I don't want to have anything to do with her any longer. I really don't. Update 3. I'm now a divorced man. I feel empty. I'm happy, but I'm empty. I got used to something painful, and now that it's gone, I feel so different. I loved Katie. I really loved her, but she destroyed me with her cheating. I don't know if I can ever be the same person that I was before. I hope so, but man, it hurt. The divorce was simple. We were able to reach an agreement. I don't know if she truly felt bad or if she was trying to manipulate me in a long-winded way. Either way, she gave up the house. My lawyer explained the system, so I learned that even with all the evidence I had, I was probably still going to have to pay alimony because of the no-fault system when it comes to divorces. It's such a stupid concept, especially when you can prove the fault. I eventually agreed to the split. I'm glad to have the house because I really love that place and I put so much money into it. She didn't do anything to me after the divorce, but I realized that I had to control the narrative. I have read too many stories to sit around and let the cheater be the one to tell people what happened. I had a lot of evidence, so I shared everything with her family and her friends. It felt messy, but I didn't care that much. She was the first person to reach out to me. She wasn't even angry. She was just heartbroken. She was asking why I'd done that. You won already. Wasn't that enough? It just felt like she was trying to emotionally manipulate me by making me feel bad for her. It didn't work at all. I let her rave on the phone, and when she was done, I hung up. I had to deal with a lot of messages from her friends and family, but I answered everything they asked with brutal honesty. She'd deal with them on her own. I'm glad everyone knows the kind of person she is now. That's my duty to society. I might choose to post the video I have of her online one day if I'm bored or if my hate for her is reinvigorated, but for now, things have calmed down a little, and I'm thankful for that. I had no choice. She put me through all this because she was selfish, but I'm glad that I was able to hit back at her, and I'm glad it hurt. If you're going to be a cheater, don't bother getting into a relationship. She curated that place as her fantasy bubble, and you punctured it in real time. What you did at the restaurant wasn't cruelty, it was exposure. She chose that place. She chose that man. She chose to lie to your face while preserving her comfort. You didn't create a scene. You walked into one she'd been rehearsing for months. The kneeling, self-loathing, and it meant nothing. The, I just want excitement. That wasn't honesty. That was strategy. She was throwing whatever version of herself she thought might stick at the wall to see if you'd soften. And when you didn't, when you calmly told her to leave, that's when the power shifted, and she knew it. Have you ever caught a partner doing something behind your back that made you question everything about the relationship? What did you do next? Let us know in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.